So Nietzsche asks us, why are so many of the great philosophers chaste? They don't have wives. Kant, Schopenhauer, Nietzsche, Kierkegaard, Rousseau. I mean, Socrates had a wife, but Socrates literally chose the most annoying woman he could find to test his resolve, right? So that doesn't really count. So that's the question. Why do philosophers not get married? And I think Nietzsche has a very interesting answer here. It's because most people get married to have progeny, to have kids, right? To have their name live on. But the philosopher already has a channel for his name to live on, and it's through his books. So again, it's not like the philosopher is more enlightened. It's not like the philosopher no longer cares about his name living on after his own death. It's that he's found a better will-to-power route to exercise that same desire. I quote to you Nietzsche. Poverty, humility, chastity. Look at the lives of all great, fruitful, inventive spirits close up. One will always find all three to a certain degree. Certainly not, as goes without saying, as if these were their virtues, but rather because their supreme lord, philosophy, demands it of them. Demands prudently and relentlessly. He has a mind for only philosophy and gathers everything, time, energy, love, interest, only for this. Saves it only for this. Nietzsche's point is this: poverty, chastity, humility. The philosopher does not choose these because he's virtuous. He chooses these because these are the conditions that allows him to do his great work. So let's take poverty, for example. The philosopher's orientation is not to make money. He's not focused on making money. Even if you offered him possessions, he's not going to want them. Why? Because having possessions comes with obligations. It comes with demands. So he didn't choose to be poor because it's virtuous. He chose to be poor because that's not his focus in life. That's not where he directs his will to power. Now, obviously, we want to push back against Nietzsche here and say, but isn't having truth-seeking rather than money-making as your primary goal, isn't that virtuous? And Nietzsche's going to say, there's a lot of issues with truth-seeking as your primary goal. And we're going to talk about that very soon. But even if it were more virtuous to live a truth-seeking life than a money-seeking life, that's not why the philosopher chose it. The philosopher chose it because his dispositions, his circumstance, his resources better suited him to exercise will to power in the domain of truth. So I've had a lot of personal experience here where I've been up close and personal with the top intellectuals as well as the top capitalists in the world, and they hate each other, right? The capitalists think the intellectuals are poisoning the well of ideas, and the intellectuals think the capitalists are hoarding all the resources. And they see a vast chasm of difference between each other. But when you get up close and personal, especially when you look at the elite of both, the similarity, I think, and I think Nietzsche is right here, is greater than the difference. They all have that maniacal focus. They all have that unrelenting drive to succeed, to win out. They all have a super strong will to power. And I suspect that Nietzsche is right, that the only thing that made them go one way or the other is not because, I don't know, capitalism can help everyone, or because truth-seeking is the most virtuous life. It's because their dispositions, their circumstance, their relationships, their resources better predispose them to exercise their will to power in one domain rather than the other. Okay? And the same story goes with humility. Philosophers are not more humble because they're moderate. It's the exact opposite. Their immoderate pursuit of the truth is why they are humble, because they don't want to get bothered by people. Okay? So that's why they don't advertise themselves. That's why they don't slay their name on things. So the ascetic ideal of the philosopher is an expression of the will to power because it's by rejecting the usual demands of life, money, sex, name, that the philosopher can fully devote himself to truth at all costs. That's what his ascetic ideal is. Truth at all costs to life. So will to power is a central idea in Nietzsche. Let me read to you how Nietzsche describes it in his own words. Every animal instinctively strives for an optimum of favorable conditions under which it can vent its power completely and attain its maximum in the feeling of power. The interpretation of the will to power, there's many, that makes the most sense to me, is that more often than not, even if we're not aware of it, we do most things out of a desire to increase our feeling of power. So it's not a blanket metaphysical thesis. It's not even a blanket psychological thesis that everything is will to power. It's simply the much more reduced but still interesting point that more than meets the eye is motivated out of power. Thanks for watching this clip. My name is Jonathan B., and I'm creating accessible lectures and interviews on the great books. If you want to watch the full lecture where this clip came from, click here. If you want to go even deeper into these ideas beyond what I put out on YouTube, then join my email list at greatbooks.io. You'll not only get lectures and interviews, but also transcripts, book summaries, and essays, all to help you explore the most important books in history. Thank you.